Welcome back, everyone, to the final episode of Star Trek Discovery for Fake Nerds Watch, Star Trek Discovery Season 4. This is it, guys. This is episode 13, Coming Home. We're finally done. Finally out of the woods. No more Discovery.
We're landing the plane, man.
No more Discovery. Cookie, just a little podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Michael Karls of the Downright Nerdy podcast. He could not make it this time. He's been very busy. Hopefully we get him on for the next episode of Picard. And I don't think he's going to miss much. Okay, so what did you think of the final episode of Star Trek Discovery?
Best episode yet. And I think the main reason why it solved a lot of the mysteries, it was a real episode for me. It did not feel like a filler episode, so I was very happy about that. I know this is going to sound very Michael Karls, very mean, but I think it's because the season is ending that this was so much more enjoyable to watch. There was a lot of tropes, a lot of cliche things that happened, but I think overall I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. So yeah. What about yourself?
That's perfectly fair. I enjoyed it as well. I don't know if I would say it's the best one of the season, but I honestly can't remember the season very well at this point.
Because it's ending. That's the only reason why it's the best episode, is because there's no more.
I mean, well, there will be more. Season 5 is coming.
That's correct.
I liked it. I found myself very emotional through a lot of it. I think the opening really helped me. Kind of like the opening, like we get going. Like there's a starbase flying through space at warp. I was like,
so beautiful.
Hell yeah. We get Admiral Vance.
Yes.
Get some action for him. Thank you. I'm always appreciative of more Oded Fair. I've been thinking about that shot of the beginning of this episode is really cool. And to be fair, like Discovery has always been really beautiful. It's been a beautiful show from the get-go.
Yeah, I can agree.
And just it opening with the camera kind of starting to go into warp, and then you see the space station fly by. Awesome.
It was so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
It makes me think, like, you guys made this episode, but then again, you made this season the way it is. It's like you guys had all of this in your back pocket that you could have actually used throughout the entire season, and you didn't.
Yeah, I just don't think the season required this many episodes.
I agree. Or filler episodes. Filler.
Yeah, you cut this down by 4 or 5 episodes. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's great. It's not the best season of the show. In fact, it might be the worst. But I think a lot of its issues would be fixed if it was shorter.
Mm-hmm.
If we got a 10 episode season, an 8 episode season, the fact that Discovery is so stuck in 13 episodes, you need to make sure that you have enough plot for those episodes, and they didn't.
Correct.
And if you find yourself not with enough plot for those episodes, you know what? Here's what you do. Discovery, I hope you're listening. Sit down. I hope you're listening. Here's what you do. Instead of a filler episode, why not you do an episode focused on one of the other crew members?
Yes.
And they have to do something. Perhaps it's a monster of the week. Perhaps it's just something else. But that would go a long way. I was thinking about this week, but that would go a long way to helping the bridge crew, or just the crew in general, feel more
connected.
Right. Feel more connected.
I agree with you. Were you happy that Tilly came back? Because I think you're not a big fan of her.
No.
Once I heard her, I instantly started thinking of you. I'm like, oh my God, Brandon's probably like so upset right now, like pulling his hair out. Like, why? Out of all the characters to bring back.
Now, I figured she'd come back eventually.
Yeah.
But
because
also
she's such a big character.
But also, I didn't think that we needed her. Because when she was gone, I didn't think about her.
Correct. I didn't care, not to be mean to her. I think she's a great actor, but I didn't really care too much for her. I just, she didn't have a component that was essential to the storyline.
Yeah. And so when she came back, I was like, oh, right. I guess we have to at this point.
Yeah.
And it's fine that she was part of the thing. You know what? I will give her this. She has probably my favorite scene in the season.
Okay.
In this episode specifically, which is the one where Vance and she think they're going to die.
Yes.
And they kind of have this moment.
I agree. I
think that's very good.
That was one of the moments I actually felt emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because it's like this entire season, if you really think about it, Discovery brought all of this on. Like, the world was fine without them. Theoretically, it wasn't the best world, but it was a lot better off than what they made it out to be now. And Vance alone, I felt like he literally saw his family. He got a chance to spend time with his family. Now he's dead. And I felt it for him. I was really, really bummed for that part. I was like, oh my God.
If they had killed Vance, I would have stopped watching the show.
You and me both. I'm like, no, forget this. You take away my mummy killer? No, you cannot do this to me.
How dare you take away Ardeth Bay? When he showed up in the last season of Discovery, I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my God, here he is. Look, I don't know how much you know about me. I'm not entirely straight. Fuck, that guy is a gorgeous man.
No, I agree with you. He's extremely him and it's paying me to say I can't remember the name now. The doctor.
Which one?
The
Culber?
Psychiatrist doctor.
Culber.
Yes, he is actually a really good-looking dude as well. And I'm a very straight man, but he is an extremely good-looking dude. And I was like, wow, okay, I see you, Mr. Handsome.
Yeah, when he's got the beard, like Oded Fehr's got the beard now. He's got the gray hair. I'm like, this is working for me, my guy. Well done. And you can definitely tell that they worked backwards from the uniforms because like they made his uniform first, which because it looks really good. And then they were like, okay, what would the other uniforms look like? And they made it worse. I hate those uniforms. The stupid gray uniforms. Awful.
Speaking of uniforms, shameless plug. You put out an article on Screen Rant. Very wonderful article. For those listening and watching, highly recommend you head over to Screen Rant and check out Mr. Brandon's article. It's great stuff.
I put up an article about the 10 best uniforms in the new Star Trek shows. And the gray uniforms from the last season did not rank because they're ugly and disgusting, and I hate them.
It's okay though. It's okay.
I hate them so much. But then the season 4, these uniforms, the primary color uniforms, the one that's in the background of, there she is. She's in one.
Yeah.
Those are at the bottom of the list because I don't hate them. They have weird shoulder pads and they're not quite fitted. It's a weird look, but
it's a weird fit, weird design. But
yeah. Anyway, that's enough about that. Anyway, so Tarka has escaped.
Yes,
Tarka has escaped. He's got Reno
Booker.
And he doesn't have Book yet. Okay. Or does this episode start with Book? Capture.
I thought it started with Book. The last episode we had Book locked up, and the general got the message from.
That's right.
From Book.
That's right. So he's got Booker. He's got Book and Reno locked up. Really liked all the stuff with Reno and Book.
That's a character I think would have been a great character to flesh out more. And give more of a presence because she was so quintessential to this episode and even to the episode previously, like her chewing on the licorice and using that for communication. I thought that was great stuff, and I would love to see her backstory. I think that would have been really cool.
Well, we kind of like. I think what helps about that character is when we first meet her, and in season 2 when she's on the Hiawatha. It helps because season 2 had this. Season 2, I think, is the best season of the show, and primarily because every new character that shows up is a fully formed character.
Yes,
when Reno shows up, we understand her motivations. We get what she has been doing on this ship for so long, and they don't need to do any more with that because we've got such a solid base foundation for her. The only problem is that she disappears once she gets back to the Discovery.
True.
And I wish that wasn't the case. I wish that she was at least on the planet or something, because And I think I know why. Like I had a tweet that went viral, and I think what happened was COVID. I think she was worried about traveling to the set for COVID reasons, which is why she's only with Book. She's not with the whole crew.
That makes sense.
So like I get that. I wish that wasn't the case. And if it is COVID, like I understand it. I just story reasons. I feel like she should have been more of the season, and she should have been in more of that episode.
I agree. I think there's still ways around it. Granted, I'm not a director or producer by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
And Star Trek, if you want to give me a job, no, thank you. I cannot do that. I'm not gonna even attempt it. But I think with COVID, you can still film her shots where she's talking to nobody. I know it's a little bit more challenging, but she's not a rookie actor. She's got some chops.
Well, that's how she filmed Army of the Dead. Like that.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. If you utilize her previous skills that she already has and just film her by herself and have one shot here, one shot going somewhere else, but she's still on a planet, then at least you have that going on.
Yeah.
But missed opportunity, I think, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. When they escape, I think Discovery always excels when it comes to like visuals. So I think the action sequence of watching Book's ship kind of evade the spheres, that looked really cool.
I like his ship a lot.
Well, it's gone now.
Yeah. Sadly.
Adira.
Yes.
Is wasted in the season.
Yes.
100% wasted. So. As soon as Gray leaves, who unfortunately is the more interesting of the pairing, I said I misgendered them. It is they. They once Gray leaves, Adira is just there.
Yeah, just a side piece, if you will.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because I like that character enough that I want to see more happen. See, that's the thing. If they had, instead of doing the stupid filler, maybe Adira gets a plot. Maybe Adira is the main character for one episode.
Yeah.
See, Star Trek Discovery, it was a bold experiment of doing serialized Star Trek. And for the most part, it works for them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're running into a problem, which is that if your plot lines don't like fill the whole season, if you're finding yourself with a little bit of a weak episode, then you should probably go back to the old Star Trek model and just make another character the main character for that episode.
Correct.
We don't need to see the Michael Burnham show every week. We know Michael Burnham.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree.
It's just Star Trek. If you want to hire me, you can.
Tarka's, I don't want to call him a love interest or...
I think they're too afraid to say love interest.
You say again?
I think they're too afraid to say love interest. I think
they are too. I feel like they shouldn't be. We're at this time like, hey, it is what it is. And I think that's a good character that you could have brought in. Like, hey, is there a potential that he's actually somewhere else? Is he actually in this beyond that we don't know about? Or if he's not, maybe what actually happened to him after he kind of sacrificed himself? That would have been a great plot that you could have added into to separate another episode.
You know what? Actually, that's a really good example. I talked a bit about this when we found out Tarka's backstory with.
I can't remember his name either.
Orthos?
Is it Orthos?
I think so.
That reminds me of. Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, and that subplot. So it's a B plot with flashbacks. If that was just the whole episode,
yes.
That's a good episode.
It's great. It's action-packed. It's suspenseful. There's romance. There's so many different things that are going on in that section.
And so, see, that's the thing that Star Trek Discovery is unwilling to do, is get away from Michael Burnham for an episode. And that's the kind of thing that they should be doing at this point. I'm not saying drop the serialization, because at this point that's baked into your DNA. You can't. But for an episode during the serialized storyline, bouncing to a different crew member might not be such a bad idea.
Do you think it could be maybe it's part of her contract that she has to be in every episode?
There are ways around that.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It just that was just a thought in my head. Like, maybe it's unfortunate that that's just the contract they have written up.
Yeah.
And like you said,
I don't think
there
it
are
is
100% ways around it.
I don't think it is. And if it was, then you could just have her be in a scene. Gotta go talk to the captain.
That's
whatever. But so I did like the stuff with Reno and Book when Reno was talking to Tarka of like, look, he's not there. I'm sorry, he's not there. You're chasing this dream because you don't want him to die, but he's not going to be there. And if he is, he's not yours. Yeah, exactly. I could go. And Reno was talking. Reno has this great moment where she talks about, if you or Book go to an alternate universe and they're there, Leto is there and Orthos is there, it's not yours. If I go to an alternate universe, it could be my wife is there. Yeah. That's not my wife. And like,
I felt it. Felt it. That was perfect.
Yeah, that was the best part of the show for me. That was kind of that moment between them. But
later on, we do have to talk about my guy Saroo. Like I need to air out some grievances about that.
Hold on, I want to get through Tarka first.
Okay,
because I think Tarka is a complete waste of time.
You think so?
As much as I enjoyed that scene, and I get the kind of like overarching plot of like, this is what grief will do to you.
Okay.
I buy it more with Book than I do with Tarka.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and I just feel like it doesn't really come together as good as it should.
How would you mend it?
I think I would give him, well, first off, I give him that whole episode where it's a flashback. I don't know.
Because without him, he is like the angel and devil on Booker's
right, but shoulders. He's not. But he doesn't quite fill the role of an antagonist that they need him to play, because there's no antagonist in this show unless it's him. Not in this season, anyway.
Yeah, because the DMA, we suspect it to be the big bad, but in essence, it's just miscommunication.
Yeah, and the big bad is the quote unquote big bad is Tarka, because you need a ticking bomb, you need a ticking clock, you need something to chase, and I just don't think he fills that role as well as he needs to. I don't know if I could fix it. I don't know if I would want to. It just kind of felt a little half baked.
Okay, would you think that if we were to follow your role and have Tarka have his own episode with that flashback.
Yeah.
And I think if we were to bring in his significant other and have them actually be alive in some way, he gets the notion that they are actually alive. And we actually, as an audience, see that. And now we're knowing, okay, Tarka is going to do whatever he can to get to his significant other. He's going to cross hell and back to get to his significant other. I think that would give a lot more motivation.
Maybe
to understanding that, okay, Tarka doesn't care about anybody else. The world could die for all he cares, as long as he has his significant other.
Yeah, I think that could work also. I don't dislike how we end things with Tarka, where it's like, maybe this explosion will be enough to send me to the other side. And like, we never know that he doesn't make it to the other side and live happily ever after. Like, I mean, we kind of do, because like, there's no way that worked. But I guess just half baked is kind of where I fall under. It doesn't quite hit as well as it needs to. And that's kind of the season, honestly, doesn't quite hit.
It's a filler season.
Yeah. Which is strange.
Yeah. Very, very much so.
You want to talk about Saroo?
Yes.
What's wrong with Saroo?
Before we get to that, no, there's nothing wrong. I think I love him. I absolutely love him. He is, for me, one of my favorite characters in this series, and I love his journey that he's taken so far, both by himself, with Burnham as well, and him discovering who he is as a person, and as a species. I think that a lot of what the writers did for him is fantastic. I do wish that he would have kissed her at the end. I wanted a kiss. I wanted him to really experience a sense of emotion. Like, the holding of the hand was wonderful, but I wanted it to end on a kiss for him, and it just boom. him kissing and the stars in the background, his plants all alive. I think that would have been magical.
Did you ever see? Okay, there's an issue with that, and it's Doug Jones's prosthetic. Did you ever see the episode of Deep Space Nine where the Cardassian girl, who was a former love interest of Quark?
Okay.
Did you ever see that episode? It's kind of a riff on Casablanca.
Yes.
So I love that episode. And I remember thinking to myself, listening to reading kind of some of the behind the scenes of like this, what we were concerned about is because these are two characters who are our heaviest prosthetics. Mm-hmm. The Cardassian and the Ferengis. And having this romance between the two of them, is it going to look stupid when they finally come together? And it works. It doesn't feel stupid. It works because of their passion, and it feels like two people making out. I think that's the problem that Discovery has. No, I think that's the problem that Discovery has fallen into with their over reliance on prosthetics.
Okay,
and is that you kind of have lost human features,
the emotion in their face.
Yeah, and so when you get something like Doug Jones, who is very, very accomplished at acting in a prosthesis, and he's very good at Saroo, and his emotions do come through. If you have someone in no prosthetics versus someone in very heavy prosthetics kind of making out, you start to realize, you start to kind of like, you see the prosthetic almost. You see that it is you're kissing a mask, a prosthetic mask.
I got you.
I don't know if that's the case, but that's kind of how I kind of would have approached that, thinking, being like, I'm not sure if right now having that romantic kiss between them could work because of his heavy prosthetic.
I got you. That makes sense.
I could be wrong.
I did like the fact that they kind of came to terms with, we both have separate lives. I'm pretty much like a president of Navarre, and you are more than likely, he probably will become a captain relatively soon after all of this, I'm assuming. And
I think he'll stay on the Discovery.
You think he will?
Yeah.
Okay, so having the role that he has on Discovery is not a small role in any stretch of the imagination. And
he's the first officer.
Both of them have very strong career path that they're taking on. So their relationship is going to be a challenge, but I am excited to see how it plays out in the next season if we decide to actually watch it.
It's the best thing about this season was watching Saroo and Tarina fall in love.
Yes. And she actually says, you can call me by my first name pretty much. And I was like, oh, that's so good.
The thing that I always loved about Vulcans, and this is wild. Okay. It's what I've always it's what I keep ragging on when it comes to like Sarek in Discovery season 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. That man is awful.
Yeah,
that is a terrible actor playing a role he has no business playing. I hate him. He's terrible because he got it wrong.
Yes, I remember we talked about it too.
And President Tarina, the woman who plays President Tarina, got it right.
Yes,
like all great Vulcan actors, the point of playing a Vulcan isn't playing someone with no emotions. It is someone playing as someone who is suppressing emotions.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And I think that because Tarina is a mix because of the generations have passed throughout, and we're now getting the Vulcan and the Romulans as kind of coming back together almost as one. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she is the combination of both. We're seeing those subtleties of emotions kind of slip out into the cracks, and I like that.
That'd be crazy if we found out next season that she is half Romulan.
That would be awesome. That'd be really awesome.
Did you ever hear the I don't know if this was a theory or if this was a scrapped idea, but I think the idea of Star Trek VI was that the Vulcan who betrays the Federation was supposed to be Saavik.
Okay.
And then it was going to be revealed that she's been half Romulan this whole time.
That'd be interesting.
They scrapped that idea, obviously, probably because they didn't get the actress to come back as Saavik. which is fine because they never. The lady who replaced what the hell is that woman's name from Wrath of Khan?
Ah,
I forgot the actress who plays Saavik in Wrath of Khan.
I can look it up.
But she's not in Search for Spock, and I don't. She's
Correct,
terrible.
yeah.
She's terrible.
Did you? Speaking of when we got into what's it called? When they brought the entire ship into the little worm bubble or whatever.
The worm bubble, yes.
And I saw the shadow come up, and I was like, they better not bring any whales into this. I swear to God, if they bring in some whales, I'm going to be upset.
Space whales?
I was going to be upset if they did.
What'd you think of the Species 10C design?
I liked it. I liked it a lot, and it reminded me a lot of Deep Space Nine. I think it was like a small little callback to Deep Space Nine and the whole overall arc of they're all one. They're not individual. When you're part of it together, they're all one.
Yeah, the Great Link.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that. I really liked so one of the things I liked about the episode was the trying to figure out the 10C's perception of oneness. Like, how do you tell a species that has no sense of oneness that we are separate? And so, like, the idea is that the 10C didn't understand that what Tarka was doing was not what the Discovery was doing. And so, like, that was really interesting to me. And then trying to communicate that, the whole trying to communicate with the species was very fascinating. I think probably really well done.
Yes.
Very Star Trek. Well done. I think that this season, it was a good idea to try and make it so that the season didn't have a big bad villain like Control or whoever the hell was the Klingons from the first season.
Yeah.
Season 3 was just the burn.
Correct.
So since they've been in the 32nd century, they haven't really had an antagonistic villain. It's been just kind of these accidental things. I think next season we need a villain.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree.
I think we need something for everyone to rally behind. I like the idea of kind of having this. I like the idea of Species 10C trying to communicate with a species that can't communicate with us. And that's all well and good. But I think next season, it would be helpful if there was more. I don't want to say action because that's kind of antithesis to what Star Trek is. And I do kind of appreciate that Discovery has gone more towards Star Trek. But I do think they need to go back to what made Discovery so unique, which was the action, which was having a villain to kind of rally behind. I think we need to go back to that.
Correct. I agree. And I think to touch on what you're saying, I know it sounds very, very Star Wars-ish, but hope. Having that sense of hope, that sense of dread in kind of just going back to the Borg. The Borg was the biggest thing that really happened to Star Trek, in my opinion, that was a big bad, really big bad. And the sense of dread that they brought in, and then the sense of hope or lack of hope that you got throughout the seasons, and even in the movie, and it's like you're trying to weigh out that balance. And they did very well in everything previously. So it's like you guys have all of these little nods at what are great storytelling of Star Trek. Use that and apply this into the next season. Like, you guys know what's working by now, especially with Discovery. You guys know what's working. There's so many people like us that are putting out our thoughts, putting out our feelings of what Star Trek should be, what Star Trek is, how to bring in a new audience, how to keep an old audience and keep that balance alive. It's not an easy feat, but it's doable.
Yeah. I would like to see, like I said, season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, I think, is the best of the series has gotten so far. I do agree with Mike, who has said that, he'd like to see the 32nd century explored more.
Yes.
Also, do you really think the spore drive is gone for good?
No, not at all. Not at all.
That thing's back next season. They've repaired it next season. I thought that was funny when they make it such a big deal that the spore drive is gone. And like the idea is that we're supposed to be stranded here now. And not for a second that I think they were stranded. Decades
to get back home. I highly doubt it.
Yeah, we're not doing this. You're getting home. They're going to send you home. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I think that I agree with Mike that I would like to see them explore the 32nd century, kind of the familiar and the new, because there is so much of the 32nd century because it is so far away that we don't necessarily know what's like what's happened to the Borg, what's happened to the Klingons, what happened to the we know what happens to the Romulans, but like we don't know what happens to certain species. And then we could find new species. We could explore strange new worlds. But I think you can do all of that while also including a overarching villain that is threatening the galaxy or threatening the Federation or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I think Discovery's sweet spot will be a merging of what they've done in the 32nd century versus what they did in the 23rd century.
I agree.
Merging that kind of action adventure Star Trek with the exploratory Star Trek. I think you can do that, and I think that would be pretty good.
Do you think that would be, I guess, more like a replica of Enterprise?
That's a good point, because it does sound like the Xindi arc in Enterprise, doesn't it?
It does.
I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't either. I liked Enterprise because that was a big thing for me, and like that was my Star Trek that I kind of, as an adult or as a kid in like school, watched a lot. So that was my into Paul. My goodness, we're not gonna get into that though.
Why don't we mirror to Paul? Why don't we just do the temporal Cold War?
There you go. That's a wonderful idea.
We've been teasing it since Enterprise. We know that the Federation. Why doesn't Discovery just get pulled into the temporal Cold War from a century earlier?
Yeah, like they end up. We can use this the 10C to go and say, okay, go through this wormhole, and then boom, out of nowhere, something happens, and it skews them out from end up getting back to Earth or something like that, and now they're drifted off into a new timeline. Because I mean, we've already gone to one timeline or two. Might as well go to a third, right?
Oh my God. You know what would be the weirdest thing that they ever did? Okay, I want to be clear to anybody watching this. These are not things that are going to happen. These are not necessarily things that I want to happen. Would I like to see a temporal Cold War crossover movie? Yes. I think that is a missed opportunity at this point to have so many shows and not have them cross over in some way. At least for a made for Paramount Plus movie. I think that's a good idea. But wouldn't it be wild if, not even the 10C, what if they go through a wormhole, they go through a black hole, they go through whatever, and they end up in the Kelvin timeline?
Oh,
wouldn't that be insane?
That would be great. That would be great. I'd be so happy.
They'd never do it. Although they did mention the Kelvin timeline last season, because they have this. There was a the alien species in the Next Generation season 1 and 2 uniform came from the Kelvin timeline, and that's how they knew what was happening to Philippa.
Gotcha.
Anyway, that's not happening. It's not happening. One, I don't want to get emails. It's not happening. I understand it's not happening. It's kind of fun to speculate.
Back to Discovery.
Yes.
Did you like the fact that Book survived? Did you expect Books to survive? And if you did you like the fact that he was just trapped, I guess, if you will? They just like, oh, well, we thought it was important, so we didn't know what it was, and we picked it up for you. Here's Book.
I really like David Ajala as Book.
Okay.
So I'm happy he didn't die. I did kind of think he did die because, that's the whole Star Trek thing. Like, oh, we lost his pattern because of the explosion. Okay. I pretty much knew that the 10C took him, though.
Yeah,
so I wasn't too surprised. I was more surprised that the General lived.
Yes.
I don't think she should have.
And she didn't even I didn't seem like she got a slap on the wrist. Nothing. But yet Book now has to get sent off. It's like, wait a second. Book got sent off to go and do his time crimed, but then the General is still a general serving now the president.
She always served the president.
Yeah. She's just a slut.
I wish that explosion killed the General.
Yeah, I did too.
Because I think that would have been a good redemption arc for her.
Exactly. That would have redeemed her.
And I think the act redeems her just fine. I just think that was a little like, did you get her? Yeah, we got her in time. But did you get him? No, we didn't.
Yeah.
But like that was the 1-2 punch of not losing the general and then losing Book, that didn't work for me. If it was just, did you get the general in time? No. Did you get Book in time? No.
No.
And then it's revealed that Book is alive. That I think hits better.
Yeah.
But the whole we got the general, just put her in sickbay. That didn't work for me.
I agree. Maybe this is just me and because I come from a Caribbean descent, but I was very actually happy that the president of Earth was actually a Black woman. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like it shows you a little bit more of the old school Gene Roddenberry, which is like, hey, this society does exist where people can actually get along, and it's not like the general old school movies where it's always Anglo-Saxon white guy playing as the everything.
Do you know who that is, right?
I do not.
Oh, interesting. So she's running for governor in Georgia.
You're kidding me.
Stacey Abrams.
That's kind of cool.
So she is a real politician in Georgia. She took a lot of credit for, deservedly, I think, but that I don't want to get into politics too much. For how she brought out the get out and vote movement in Georgia to kind of switch Georgia from a red state to a blue state. She was the one who's kind of shepherded that, and she's running for governor of Georgia right now. But she's a huge Star Trek fan.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Huge
That's
Star Trek fan. And I don't agree with her ranking because she's put Deep Space Nine far too low. But she really liked Discovery. And so in good Star Trek tradition, when a celebrity, a politician or whatever is a big fan of Star Trek, oftentimes they're asked to be in the shows. And so that's what happened in this time. So she was able to play the governor of Earth. The president of Earth.
President of Earth.
So I thought that was a nice little nod. And I was far more on board with it because it made Ted Cruz mad.
Did it really?
It did. He was very upset. And you know what? Fuck him.
No more politics, all right?
No more politics.
That was it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I just thought that was interesting that I like when Star Trek does stuff of that nature, and they do inclusion of people, and especially Gray. Like you said, I really did want more Gray. I think Gray was a really great character, and
I'm sad we lost Gray and kept Adira, honestly.
Yeah, I would love more of that.
The only issue, so I do want to talk a bit more about Stacey Abrams' inclusion. The only issue I have with it is I don't really like her dialogue exchange with Michael Burnham, and not necessarily with how it's acted. It's kind of how it's delivered. I don't think it's not quite as bad as the first season ending when Michael Burnham is when everyone's getting accommodation and she's talking about that is Starfleet or this is Starfleet or whatever. There's a horrible speech that I can't remember the whole thing of, but it made me visibly roll my eyes. But there's it ends with well, time to go to work. What are we doing? Come on, can't we write this better?
Yeah.
But I really appreciated it when it's just Madam President, whenever you want to talk about rejoining the Federation, we don't have to talk about it. Let's do it. I want to join the Federation now.
That was cool. That was really cool. I was happy about that.
And it's a nice little thing because it's now the Federation feels like it's whole again. Mm-hmm. And that was always hurting Discovery. And rightfully so, it should have repercussions, the fact that there is not a full Federation anymore.
Yeah.
But now it feels like there is. Now that now I feel like we're back.
We're back. Exactly. We're back, baby. We're back.
Yeah.
I know it was in season 2, but then also in, I want to say season 3. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was the first person that we meet that is technically the Federation. And he's
season 3.
Yes. Okay. So anyhow, they brought him at the last episode, and he was a high ranking, really high ranking dude. Mm-hmm. I probably would have teared up because I don't know what it was about him, but his little story arc that he had of wanting to see a Federation grow and not knowing that there's other Federation, I guess, outposts out there that he can't reach because his signal doesn't reach that far. And then we get the chance to see the signal reach, and then he's getting to interact with other people. I literally genuinely almost shed a tear because I thought that was so beautiful, so well written. So to see him come back again at the very end and just see Michael Burnham, this is Michael's journey from beginning to end in this new time era. And we're now also seeing like him kind of conclude that time era. It's like, we made it. We did what we sought out to do. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. But if I saw that, I would have been like, man, that is some good writing there.
Yeah, I liked his inclusion last season too. Let's see if I have any other notes. Fuck you, General. I wrote that. I was so mad at her when I wrote that. I was like, how dare you?
Yes.
How dare you, madam?
The audacity.
I think it was a good idea I do think it was admirable to not do a big bad this season, but I just don't think it worked quite as well as it should have. When Admiral Vance and Tilly are saving, I think there's a lot of great ship porn. we talked about with Picard too, but like I think there's a lot of great ship porn in the bit when the Federation outpost shows up at Earth and then all the other ships show up, and I'm like, ooh, look at all the ships, look at all the ships, and then they're doing the evacuation. I was like, the Mitchell is at Titan, it won't make it in time, and then it makes it in time, and I'm like, yeah, the Mitchell.
That was so good.
I really like that stuff, and I really liked its inclusion in this. And then the whole, you know what? Honestly, the evacuation of United Earth, no notes. I liked it a lot. Thought it was really cool.
Really. I like the fact that the captain is going to go down with his ship. Like, yeah, that was a really, really great stuff. I know we've seen it many times beforehand, but I really like the fact that they kept with that.
Yeah, me too. I also appreciate that when we pass by Earth, it's habited. So there's like a bunch of like cities on Earth. That was cool.
Yes.
Sorry, the moon,
not Earth. We both know.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought, I kind of just wish, like, we can't because it's the whole thing. It was weird also that like Burnham was like, let's bring the whole bridge crew down to the planet to talk to these people. Why? What are they gonna do?
My thing was, we're supposed to be including everybody here. What about the lower deck? Like, don't they get a say in this too?
No. Just the bridge crew.
Oh man. But yeah, I agree with you on the evacuation. And Admiral Vance, when he's gonna have his little drink, was it whiskey? I can't remember. Did he say he was drinking whiskey or what was it? It's some alien drink, I think. It was okay.
Like Alderon whiskey or whatever.
And didn't he say, like, what's his name brought that back for him? They were like, oh, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember exactly. You watched it quicker than me. It's been a week since I've seen this episode.
Sorry, you're right. But you did take down notes.
Well, I didn't. Clearly not that. Okay.
Who would you want instead of Tilly? Like, if Tilly wasn't there, would you be upset that there wasn't somebody there with Admiral Vance, now knowing? Or are you happy that Tilly was there as somebody? You know,
I'm glad that he had someone to talk to. Not like as a, like, I'm just glad someone was there for you. No, I mean to say that, like, I'm glad that he was able to vocalize, you know, I just got my family back and now I'm going to lose them again. And so do you think she knows that your daughter knows that you love her? And it's, yeah, she does. And that, I think, for Vance, Tilly's inclusion was a good idea.
Correct. It was needed, I think.
Yeah. And so, you're going to make me say this.
Mike, once you rewatch this, Mike, you better record this. This better be on your next episode of the podcast.
I think Tilly's inclusion in this episode was a good thing.
Just like that, folks. It's just like that. Cookie was able to
damn you.
You need to wash your mouth out with some vodka or
something. What was that?
Anyway. You were thinking of Admiral Vance. It's okay. It's understandable.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Admiral Vance, I should say. Okay. I don't have anything else I want to add, though, unless you do.
What do you think next season has in store for us?
Hopefully a better show.
Because they didn't necessarily end with any cliffhangers, to my knowledge, right?
No, and they never do. They always end. Well, season 2 ended with a somewhat cliffhanger, but they always end with like the season's wrapped up in a nice little bow and everything's fine.
Gotcha.
So I knew we weren't in store for a cliffhanger that was going to lead in the next season. I would like to see them go back to a big bad, but I would also like to see that a compelling big bad. I don't want to put it out there in the universe that it's a bad one, just a compelling big bad. And I would like to see them explore more of what the 32nd century is like, as far as like other species. So I want to see other, not, you know what? Okay. Sorry. I'm thinking, I'm forming my thoughts as they're coming to me.
No problem.
Okay. Season 5. I would like to see more classic Star Trek elements, as in like villains, alien species, whatever. Even like when season 3 reintroduced the Guardian of Forever, that was awesome. I want to see more of that with the 32nd century lens.
Okay.
And I would like to see them return to a big bad. Now, I don't know if I would prefer it to be a new villain from a different quadrant of the galaxy, or maybe I'm kind of toying with the idea that I wouldn't mind seeing the Borg in the 32nd century.
Really?
I'm not sure. I kind of would.
Okay.
Like maybe I don't know if like the Borg would be able to be a match for this version of the Federation. I don't know what the Borg status is, but maybe the Borg or the Klingons.
Okay.
I'd be down to see as like a big bad next season.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'd have to, whatever they do, you know what? And if you have to, lower the episode count.
Right on.
Wait, more episodes. This is what I want. It's what I actually want.
Okay.
Scrap everything I said. Scrap everything else I said. I want episodes that are about specific members of the crew. That they're the main character for those episodes, and it's not always about Michael Burnham. Okay. That's what I want.
Right on.
You can have your serialized story. You can have your whole like serialized arc with whatever you want to do. But if you run out of space, and if you got 13 episodes and you got enough for 8, then you slot in some character-specific episodes.
Right on.
That's what you do. That's my hope for season 5.
I like it. Good stuff.
Yeah. What about you? As you drink your water.
I am along the similar lines, I should say. I wanted to have a very small story that we get to see, not maybe each episode, but we get to see the story unfold through different people's eyes instead of always Michael Burnham's eye. So if we have like the Bridge Crew where we're seeing the story, the same or similar stories kind of unfold through different eyes. So we're getting maybe Michael Burnham through the first episode and her kind of establishing the big bad and establishing the exploration of where we're going to. And then we get into a different person. We get into Stannis. So anybody in the Bridge Crew we can go and talk about and just have their eyes and their story being told rather than always Michael Burnham's story being told.
Yeah, I agree with that. What did you think about the season all in all?
Season 2 is my favorite season. This was a filler season, I think, but I do think with what we got as far as story arcs and everything, I think it was watchable. Would I watch it again? Probably not. But I do think that this allowed a lot of time for me to kind of dive deeper into Star Trek, which is something that I've always loved growing up. And being able to share that same passion with you and with Mike, I think is a really awesome opportunity. So I enjoy doing this. And I guess I have to thank Star Trek Discovery for having a show that we can not necessarily always agree, but we have a show that we can go and talk to one another about, and we're all passionate about it.
Oh, that was sweet. Thank you. All right. That's all. I agree. I don't think I have anything to add from that.
Yeah, same here.
So that's it for Star Trek Discovery.
Right on.
Thank goodness. I'm glad we finally got this out of the way. We are going to be continuing on with Star Trek Picard. And that's the only Star Trek show until Strange New World starts, which we will also do. So, follow along with Star Trek Picard, Fake Nerds Watch. You can check those out. Before I go any further, Cookie, why don't you plug your stuff?
Right on. So I am on social media on Instagram at Just Little Podcast, on Twitter at Just Podcasting, and I have a Patreon. So head over to patreon.com/Just Little Podcast, and you can sign up today so you can get a chance to listen to all the good content I'm putting out in there. Now that Halo is coming out, I'm really thinking about doing a right after reaction to the episode and just kind of talking about that, seeing how it goes out. We'll see. I am eager to go and watch that show. I have another show that I'm working with a good buddy of mine on the complete opposite of Star Trek, which is Star Wars. So we're doing the history of Star Wars, a year-by-year podcast ordeal. And I have a Harry Potter show coming out as well on my Patreon coming up in the near future. So be on the lookout for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Halo. I forgot.
I'm excited. I think it's by the time this airs, I think it would have already aired. So I am excited for. I know you're not a big fan of the series. So
no, you're wrong.
You are excited.
No, you're right about that. But I love Halo.
Oh no, I know you love Halo. I just know that you're not excited about this TV show.
There's just trailers haven't grabbed me.
They've grabbed me. They've gave me goosebumps. Granted, everything gives me goosebumps apparently, but it gave me goosebumps, and I was happy.
You know what? I hope I'm wrong because I've been really excited. I've been waiting for something for Halo coming in live action. I really love those games. I really want a good Halo adaptation.
Well, the producers never watched any of the video games, so maybe they're not going to be.
Don't tell me that.
That's what I just heard. That the producers never played any of the video game, but it seems like they're going to be diving into the book.
It's not Halo, a prerequisite. Look, it's not a prerequisite. They don't have to play those games, but like someone on that staff should be a consultant.
Oh, they have to. They definitely have to.
Okay. Anyway, whatever. Let's end this.
Let's
be done with Star Trek Discovery. So as I said, Star Trek Discovery is done. We will be continuing on with Star Trek Picard and the Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I think if you guys are down with it, maybe the Orville.
I love the Orville. My wife and I love it.
Yeah. Maybe we do that one too. June.
When is it coming out?
June.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'll do my best. Sounds good. I love the Orville.
I won't make us do it, but like I think that could be a lot of fun to do with Star Trek Strange New Worlds because I think they overlap.
Okay.
That's that. Okay, so you can check out some of our other Fake Nerds watches. Like I said, we've been doing some Fake Nerd Picard, Fake Nerds watch for Star Trek Picard. We've done the first 3 episodes at this point. The 4th one will probably be going out soon by the time you're watching this. And that's been pretty good. I'm enjoying that one quite a bit. So you can check out that right now. And you can check out some of our other shows. If you like this video and you subscribe to this channel, you can check out Basement Arcade. Basement Arcade Pause Menu. Those are our video game shows. Pause Menu is the 3-time award-nominated show.
There you go.
That's the kind of video game discussions, and then Basement Arcade regular, just Basement Arcade is a video game Let's Play series where we are currently going through Mortal Kombat X. And you can check out Animation Station, Fake Nerd Book Club. I think the next Fake Nerds watch that is not going to have this gentleman or Michael Karls, which will have the Fake Nerd crew, will probably be Moon Knight. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to do that yet. I don't want to burn everyone out, so we'll see. Yeah, that's that. Again, like this video, subscribe to our channel. You can check out some of our other stuff. You can find me on BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. You can find the Fake Nerd Podcast on Fake Nerd Podcast, all social media, Fake Nerd Podcast, Fake Nerd Guys at gmail.com. FakeNerdPodcast.com has all the links, so you can check out our TeePublic, our Patreon. That's all there. All the links to all of our shows, that's all on the website. That should be linked below. And I write for Screen Rant as Cookie so kindly brought up one of my latest articles, which is the Starfleet uniforms. I put up a lot of stuff from them. I'm going through the Infinity Saga and putting up some of what I believe to be the 50 most defining moments of the MCU, of the Infinity Saga. That's going up weekly. Most of the time I skip a couple weeks because I get busy. And so the latest one is coming up soon. And I'm the editor for Kaiju Ramen Media on their website. So that's that. I think that's everything. Okay. Cookie, if you got nothing else to plug,
I'm good.
then we'll see you on Star Trek Picard. Live long and prosper.
Yes, sir.